Kim Tatro is in long-term recovery herself. She has 14 years. Her roots are in AA, and she has a strong faith in God. Today, she is a peer supporter for Ohio Guidestone and resident coordinator for Cathy's House, recovery housing in Ohio. She is also on the advisory council at Hope Recovery Community. Kim believes that we do recover if we have the resources we need, which varies from person to person. Thank you, Kim, for being here, and I'll let you keep our conversation going.
Well, thank you so much, Emily, for this opportunity. Cindy did cover a lot of the things that I was going to talk about, so I'm just going to repeat some of those things. And this is coming more from, as a peer supporter, it's all about lived experience. And I use that a lot in day-to-day life, you know, what I've been through and what I do today to help myself stay in recovery and to prevent that relapse. And this has been such a trying time, I think, for all of us, whether we're in recovery or not in recovery, whether we have a lot of recovery or 5 days of recovery, if we have somebody that we love, a family member, those kinds of things. This has been a really difficult year for so many reasons, but especially because of that isolation. So what I try to encourage my clients to do is not isolate. You know, a lot of us in recovery have those underlying issues, whether it's anxiety or depression, and, you know, bipolar, just a lot of mental health things go hand in hand with substance use disorder. So I very much encourage them not to isolate. Fortunately, in this field, we are essential workers, and I have been able to meet with people in a face-to-face setting because we need that. We need community. We need each other. And so I had a few clients last week that kind of disappeared, and it was unusual behavior for them. And of course, in my mind, I'm thinking relapse. That's the first thing that came to me. And, you know, texting, calling, not getting a hold of that person. And I literally was like, I'm going to go out and knock on the door. And the one gal, I knocked on her door, she answered, and she's like, oh, I'm okay, I'm sober. She said, I spilled coffee on my phone. And I was so relieved. And then, you know, I've gotten texts from her since then. You know, I got a new phone, and I'm looking forward to us meeting this week, and you know, those kinds of things. So reaching out and giving people that personal touch, whether it be via text, phone, and then if they don't respond, to physically go there. And, you know, doing it in a safe setting, because of course now with COVID, you know, we've got to maintain our distance, we've got to wear the masks, but that doesn't mean that we can't meet with people. Over the summer, obviously in Ohio, I'm not walking right now, although I have to say that somebody called me last week and said, I'm really struggling. And I said, walk or meditation, which one do you want to do right now? And he said, walk. And I met him at a park, and it was cold and it was slippery because we had some snow, but we went for a walk. And it's those kinds of things. People need people, you know, that community has been such an important part to my recovery. And I try to encourage people to go to places like Hope Recovery Community. We don't just have meetings. We're able to safely provide meals for people. And it's not just about 12 steps. Again, it's about all methods of recovery, all paths to recovery. And again, getting that face-to-face touch with someone. So of course the guidelines are unbelievable. We didn't do Thanksgiving this year like we did last year, where last year we were able to serve breakfast. We had, I don't know how many turkeys going, and everybody brought food. We're not able to do that this year. So we're still doing what we can. We're just being a whole lot more safe about it. So that community, again, that's so important. Accountability, you know, creating that for ourselves before we hit this season, okay? Now we're in the middle of the season now, but things that I've been trying to teach my clients and just my other peers is build your support system. Build it big. You know, when we enter a 12-step, they tell us to get phone numbers. Well, you know, get as many numbers as you can, because if you get two numbers, now you have two people that might not answer. But if you have 20 numbers, chances are pretty good somebody's going to pick up the phone. And so that's one of the biggest things that I tell people is that phone does not weigh 1,000 pounds. I promise you. Pick it up. And the more often you do that, the easier it gets. It really does. And it doesn't weigh, you'll find it doesn't weigh that much. And then, you know, service, getting out of ourselves. We all have those emotions right now. I feel like this is a tough year, not only because of COVID, but a tough time because of the holidays. A lot of us have lost loved ones, whether to death or just lost relationships. And it's a difficult time, and we have all those memories. So staying in the moment and then being of service to others. There's lots of places that we can still volunteer. It may not be in person. It may be via Zoom. We have recovery check-ins every day at Hope where people can Zoom in. It's maybe a 10, 15-minute touch, but it just really helps people again. So service, find out what you can do for someone else. Pick up the phone and call somebody and say, how are you doing today? It's just really simple things. I can't remember complex things. I have to keep it very, very simple. Self-care. That is by far one of the biggest things that I have to focus on today in my own recovery. And when you're a peer supporter, you have to put the mask on yourself. You have to focus on your recovery, or you have nothing to give other people. And so self-care is a big part of recovery. And if you are a caregiver of someone or a family member, these things help you too, okay? Do them for yourself and then suggest them to your loved one. So appealing to the senses, sights, sounds, smells, and feels, okay? It's winter in Ohio. I've always got a blanket or a sweater or something to keep me warm. I'm a freeze baby. You know, it's simple things like that. Like Cindy said, getting out, moving, exercising, eating healthy, you know, just really taking care of yourself. Self-care can be anything from lighting a candle to playing some music that really makes you feel up and keeps you, again, in the present. If I listen to some old music that reminds me of my past, I'm going to emotionally start going down a really unproductive road, an unhealthy road. Laughter, watch a comedy. You know, I have friends and we exchange these little videos and I laugh, you know, and they laugh. And it's just really a wonderful way to release some good chemicals in our brains, because that's where the problem lies, right? This is a disease of the brain, and we really need to treat that in a way that is going to release good chemicals. And all of those things that I mentioned really do that. Color, you know, there's a lot of adult coloring, reading a good book, and just aromatherapy, you know, a diffuser, just these simple things. And these, again, these are not just for people in recovery. Self-care should be a part of all of our lives every single day. And then when it comes to like the spiritual piece of it, a gratitude list. I tell people to make a gratitude list, a few things each day that you're grateful for. I have a few people that we exchange every single night, a certain amount of things that we are grateful for. And we call them our gratefuls. Let's do our gratefuls. And it has helped a lot of clients just to be able to focus on things that they're grateful for throughout the course of the day. You know, it doesn't just help you at night when you're making that list. It helps you throughout the day. You're looking for things that are pleasant, you know. And so again, that's part of the mental piece too. Journaling, you know, writing your feelings down. Like Cindy had talked a lot about that emotional piece. If I get emotionally stirred, if my serenity is somehow compromised, my sobriety is next. So let's focus on our emotions and our serenity and keeping that peaceful mindset. Every morning I read devotionals, and I will take a picture of them so that I can carry them throughout my day, even if I'm not by my book. So I've got them right here. Jesus Calling, the 24-hour book. Those are my go-tos. There's And there's just so many of them today that we can give as resources to our clients. And then prayer and meditation. Prayer to me is talking to God, and meditation is listening to God. And God can be God, or it can be any higher power, anything that is bigger than us, that's in charge of our lives more than we are. Because when I try to do things on my own, I don't do well. But when I allow my higher power in, things are generally pretty good. So spending that time with my higher power really works for me. And then, taking things one day at a time. If I can remember that, when I first came in and I was new in recovery, someone told me that I was carrying around a 365-foot log. And that gave me the visual, and it gave me something to feel. And I felt the heaviness of a 365-foot log that I was trying to carry around. And he said, why don't you cut off a foot of that and try that for a while? Okay. So just, again, giving people these little tools that I've learned along the way, the lived experience of how I got sober, got clean, and stayed clean. And then as far as holiday parties go, because this is really, again, a tough time for people in recovery, I know that a lot of families are not willing to give their loved one a healthy environment. So that's when we really have to help them with a plan. What is your plan going to be? Make sure that you have an out, and make sure you have a ride so that you can leave if you start feeling some sort of way. And there are times when I have gone to get-togethers and there's been substances there, there's been alcohol there, and I've been absolutely fine. I can stay for 4 to 6 hours and I'm fine. But then there are other times when I get there and 5 minutes in, I'm like, I can't do this. I just can't do this. And at one point I was in another state, and I immediately picked up my phone and I said, AA meeting near me. I was at a wedding gathering, and I knew I had to get out or I was going to pick up. And so for family members, I do suggest that you really try to have that healthy environment. But if not, make sure that your loved one has a way to leave if they need to, and don't judge them for leaving, because it's, recovery is life and death. It absolutely is life and death. And once you realize that, you want to plan, because I want to do everything I can for my recovery today. And then I think a lot of people around the holidays, and a lot of people who are new in recovery, really feel like they're not enough. They feel less than. Maybe it's because of some of the things that they've done to damage relationships and family, financial reasons, just many reasons that we struggle with this feeling. And I have a wonderful little tool, and maybe I'll type it in the chat when I'm finished, but I have it on a little magnet. It's start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. It will be enough. And today I know that I'm enough. And if I allow God to come through me, that I'm able to help another person. So really, again, just focusing on those four ingredients that Cindy spoke about is really building those muscles in all areas, not just the physical, but the spiritual muscles, the emotional, and the mental. And I really do encourage, if someone that I'm working with only has a recovery coach, me, that they seek other help, because we all have underlying issues. So to seek a therapist or a counselor who can help them with those underlying issues, so important. Help is out there. And I truly believe that in Medina, we are doing some amazing things. I mean, we've got, not only do we have Hope Recovery Community, but we have an Atom board that just really supports people who are struggling with substance use and mental health issues, and providing those finances, because most of us, when we come in, we've lost everything and we don't have those finances. So to have that resource, and as recovery coaches and as therapists, we can point people in the direction of those resources. But yes, we've got a wonderful, I'm resident coordinator for our recovery house here in Medina. And that has been just such a blessing to work with people new in recovery and to give them those resources. But again, your own recovery has to come first. If you're a family member or a professional, put the mask on yourself. Do your own self-care and recover your own self before you try to help someone else. And then, I don't know, it all just seems to work out. Again, just, let your higher power take over. And I think that's all I've got for today.